Hello, Anthony. How are you doing?
Hey, Porky, how are you? I'm very good, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, mate. No problem. You're a gentleman. How you been keeping? All right?
I've been enjoying your shows. I'm glad to see that you've got another addition to the commission. And I just want to say for all the people listening out there, you've got to support Porky. He's doing an excellent job, and it's a voice for the people that want to see the right fights. And
Thank you very much.
someone's got to do it, and I think that you do a very good job.
Thank you. What do you think to Canada Bob?
Very, very good. I was watching his take. He's done a good film on the great Charles Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
Okay, a very, very forgotten heavyweight.
Yeah, he is.
And when you look at his CV, oh, and you got people like Tyson Fury saying he's, the best ever.
No, yeah. When you look at Fury's CV, it's absolute pish compared to Liston's and all those greats from that era, isn't it?
Brilliant. One of the first memories of my whole life was getting up and my mum telling me Muhammad Ali has won. And I went, what do you mean? She goes, I thought he was going to get killed against George Foreman and he had won. And I remember going out and everybody's sort of saying, that was an era when the heavyweight championship in particular and boxing meant something because you're getting the best fights with the best people and it was the best of the best. And nobody wanted to duck each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, mate. I agree. Well, a lot's been going on in boxing recently, and I just want to. I'm going to pick a few bullet points, and we'll have a bit of a chat about it. What do you think about Fury's retirement? And then yesterday saying he's got a massive announcement this week.
It's all manipulation of the casuals, isn't it? I've got a lot of friends who I took bets off with Usyk, saying, "Oh, Fury's going to win. He's too big. He's this. He's that. He's the other." And he's just a symptom of how bad boxing is,
Yeah.
because Fury's claim to fame is that, Wilder was the next best person. But when you look and see what the WBC were able to do, they protected and protected and protected and protected him until they've got someone else who they can then do the same thing. You're not getting the best fight in the best. But my view is that Fury's gaslighting everybody and he's hanging out for money. And does he really care what the fans want? My view is no.
When I look at Wilder's CV, he's got two wins over Stavern, hasn't he?
Yeah,
That,
and and look how long he was champion for.
I know.
It's the same old,
Look
same
at
old.
Fury. How many mandatories Fury faced? Dylan White in 5 years.
And what a mandatory it was. Dylan White, the plodder, the man with the concrete boots.
Who's just signed for Bricktop when he couldn't stand him when the back for the last 10 years. All he's done is slate Bricktop. Now at the weekend he was hanging out the back of him.
He and
Nobody
not only that, he,
could
he
you,
didn't do
Anthony?
himself correct.
Good
Yeah,
make it up.
yeah. It's a circus. They're trying. What you find is that they're trying to turn boxing into WWE, and you and a lot of other channels are out there saying, no, 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 we want the real grassroots sports back. Who is the best out there? That's what we want.
Yeah, and Dylan White is not the best out there. He's saying one thing one day and doing another thing another day. The other day he were high fiving Joe Joyce, weren't they, at that show? And then at the press conference. They were
Fake beef.
they were intense beef.
It's gaslighting because what they're doing is they're selling a narrative. And my view is this. Boxing is that raw and that good a sport. You do not need to sell anything fake. It is what it is.
Yeah. Anthony Joshua, where does he go now, Anthony?
Very good question. I don't think he fights Bacoli. I think that's a load of whatever. Do you know what I actually think? Maybe the best thing for him is probably the Derek Chisora fight. I don't know. What do
Eric
you think?
Chisora might bowl him over.
I agree. I agree. But again, given how Derek Chisora just looked, I think I told you on the message,
Yeah, yeah.
Chisora looked as if he had been put through a shredder, and that's age, you know. And given the fact that Anthony Joshua is, Big Meech, as you call him, is scared of his own shadow,
Mm.
I think that they're about where they both are. They're both shot fighters. Put them in, give them a hurrah. Del Boy gets the money he wants to get. Anthony Joshua goes out in what I think will probably be a competitive fight.
Del Boy will be having more than 50 fights. I mean, other year he was just going to have 42, wasn't it? Now it's 50, soon it'll be 55.
Which is why I was very impressed with you calling out Talk Sport and everybody else because they're all saying about, oh, it's all about the fighters and everything else. Why are you encouraging stuff like that?
What, like his friend from Finchley, Juggy, is in ring after the fight?
Correct.
It's like Al Capone interviewing John Gotti for killing people.
Exactly. My view is that the fighters, as you say, they're slabs of meat. They're put in a wagon. They're taken to the slaughterhouse, and they're rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And to be honest, they've been getting away with it, and at some point, they're not going to get away with it. And my view is, people like Derek Chisora, when you saw he won the fight.
Yeah.
And when you see how distressed and smashed up he looked, it tells you something. Father Time has never been beaten ever.
No. He went life and death with Otto Walling.
Who was not there to win. He was so negative.
Mm.
And I messaged you. I said, Walling's not doing anything. What? Why is he there?
Yeah. To take his paycheck.
Look, and not only that, there's a chance that Chisora on the back of that fight might be fighting for the title. It's a joke. You can't have stuff like that. We got to have the very best. There are very, very, very good fighters who are way ahead of someone like Del Boy for a title shot.
Biggest joke at evening was Super Bean hanging around for nearly an hour waiting to say goodbye to George Warren.
Oh, look, it's an old boys club, isn't it, Porky? And one of the things I like about you is that you're a disruptor, And my view is that you're having, and I'm going to say it, I told you privately, but I'll say it publicly. I think you are having a bigger effect than they're letting on.
Yeah, they're watching, mate. Listen, they're all pinching my one-liners, a lot of them.
Well, they're good ones. That's why. That's the first thing. But secondly, right, is that they're not having the narrative their own way
No.
because there are a lot of very, very good boxing fans that are beginning to think, why are we getting this? Why are we being gassed up with this? Why? And to be honest, you seem to be, what do I say? You're a leading edge in terms of pointing that out. And if it's pointed out enough times, right, with traction, they got to take notice, and I think that happens.
Well, I look at other channels, right, and when they all start out, some of these channels are bigger than mine, more subscribers. They get more views and they get them quicker. And I look at them and they all start off like me, and then they all get softened up. Right? I'm not
Right.
going to say the channel's name. There's channels out there and I look at them and I think, wow, you've soon changed your tune. You see where I'm coming from? And they should be embarrassed. You've got people saying, "Oh, Derek Chisora's having an Indian summer," and I think, "Wow, you've had a bit of access, and now look how soft you've gone." But the way I see it is this, right? I because I worked in industry for 6 years, I see these people coming a mile off. Peter Fury called it right the other day. He said people will do anything for money. Now, when I see that at the weekend. I see Bean, who used to be the top dog at Sky, hanging around to say goodbye to somebody's son. And then I see Dylan White, I-5 in Bricktop. I see Anthony Yard and Tunde Ajayi huggy bearing Bricktop, but yet they were all going at it a few weeks ago. Isn't it all nice and cozy? Do they actually think that Bricktop cares about them? Do they think Bricktop cares about Super Bean when he had his foot pressed on his neck for 10 years while he were out in the wilderness while Eddie Hills were running wild. No.
They don't.
It's payback in it, and Dylan White, he never helped promote that Wembley show because Eddie Hills told him his mandatory fee were guaranteed. You don't need to waste energy on that show. Do they think for 1 minute that Bricktop's going to care about Dylan White, even though they're hugging and high-fiving? No. Do they think he cares about Yard? No, I don't think he does. He don't care for anybody. He's only really cared about one fighter, and he said that in an interview. That was Georgie Collins. And that went a bit tits up for him, didn't it? Do you remember him?
No, no. George, explain. Remind me of George Collins.
Don't you know who George Collins is?
No, 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 no.
I think he got beat by Colin Jones, and I think he got done by Kirtland Lang, but he was supposed to be next big thing.
Right, right. Back in the day, there. Yeah.
1989, back in the day, and Bricktop really fell in love with him. By his own
Right.
admission, I was shocked, me. And then I saw some of his fights where they were coming through Georgie Collins, and he was the real deal. But like I said, it went a bit tits up for him, didn't it?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think I do remember him. Did he have a very good sort of amateur record? And
Yeah, and
then,
he had a bit
right,
of cash going as well, a much cash going back then. But
right, right,
Bricktop
right,
fell in love with him, Georgie Collins. Google him. I think he only had a couple of losses. And
right.
then, now, Carl Zaggy, look what happened with that. They went to court, didn't they? They went at him.
Correct. Yeah, and not only that, I actually looked. I actually looked up. I think it was you who actually said on one of your shows that if you go and have a look on Google, you could see how they fell out, how he fell out with Warren. And
Yeah, well, look what
look,
the judge said in his summing up. Every single fight they'd had for 20 odd fights, whatever it were,
yeah,
22 fights,
yeah,
23 fights, they'd had a contract. And then when it come down to the last fight, which was the
right,
Jones fight, one of his last one,
correct,
there were no contract, and that's why it all went a bit sour. So the judge said, "Well, why would an astute businessman like you, Mister Warren, have a con? This is all in public record. Have a contract for every single fight because you're very legal and meticulous about contracts. And then all of a sudden, for a big fight like this, two worlds collide or whatever it was called and all that." It was
right.
just a verbal agreement. The judge wasn't having it. The judge wasn't having it. And he awarded to Carl Zaggy, and if you go and look what happened, Sports Network folded, didn't they? After.
Correct. So he didn't pay him.
Before they went into High Court, they have to put money up,
Right.
for all fees and everything. They did that. They rolled the dice, and then they folded it. So there you go. That's what happened. So he's not even a good loser, is he? Same thing happened with Don King.
Ugh.
Don King in court, didn't he? 7.2 million. And his argument, well, really, I won because fighters came back to me. Yeah, but you still lost a big chunk of dough, didn't you?
Yeah, you know what I think about Don King because again, I was at the Lennox Lewis fight when McCall done him, and I was also at the Ben McLennan fight when Don King stepped over McClellan, who was on his back, to go and congratulate Ben. And come on. Well, I think, Corky, here's what I think it is. There are a lot of fake people in boxing. And the reason I think that you were a thorn in people's side is that you actually genuinely love the sport and you could see it from the way you carry yourself and what you do on this channel. That's my perception. And fake people don't like real people.
Yeah.
That's my view. That's my view on it. And they don't want people who genuinely, if you've got a love for the sport, what do you want to do? You want to make it better and better and better, not only for the boxers, but for the people who consume it. Whereas fake people want a narrative so that they could con the consumer and get as much money out of them as they can. That's my view.
Yeah, well, I see through it, don't I? But one thing boxing has taught me is the people in it. I don't believe a word I'm told now. I just, whenever I'm told something, I always think first before taking it as gospel. You know,
Yeah,
I think first because what people say on a Monday, they can soon change their mind on a Tuesday. And when you pull them up about it,
right.
just say, "Well, I've got to do it best for my fighters." You
It's a
see
get
what
out of jail clause.
Well, that's what it is. I'm waiting for to see what's going to happen with certain heavyweights at the moment, and then see people eat humble pie, and then I'm going to say, "Well, what happened to everything you've been saying for the last so many years?" Well, I've got to do it best foot fighter. You see where I'm coming from, and that's what happens. People will lose their minds, but it's like saying, well, I don't really want to work in that foundry, but I've got to put food on table for my kids. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? But
Yeah,
I'm not from. I see. With me being from a coal miner's son, we're big on pride where I'm from. You see, so it's a bit different for me. And plus, I don't need boxing to get by. A lot of these people, it's their bread and butter in it. So I do see where they're coming from.
yeah.
It's Georgie Collins is 35 and 2, 24 knockouts.
I'm looking at it now, actually,
Yeah,
Porky. I realise.
welterweight. His last two fights were Gary Jacobs and Curtin Lang. Sorry, it wasn't Colin Jones. It was Gary Jacobs and Curtin Lang. And yesterday, I think I got that Brad Paul's one wrong because I didn't have my glasses on. I don't get them well Thursday. I ordered some new glasses, but yeah,
Well,
Georgie Collins, Bricktop fell in love with him, didn't he, Georgie Collins? And he said he wouldn't do that again. If anything, he learnt from that, didn't he?
correct. And if you look at where boxing is, if you look at how what happened to Kirkland Ladd, because he had a win over the great Roberto Duran.
Yeah, he did.
But
Yes.
when you look and see what happened to him after boxing, can the sport really look at itself and say that they are? Let's have it right. It's the boxers that go in there in the ring, correct? They're the ones taking the punches. And if the sport was real, because of the damage that the sport inflicts on the combatants, to me, there should be a lot more support for the boxers after their careers are done. And Kirkland Lang is from what I remember, he was out on the streets at some stage. All right, he had mental illnesses and everything else, but it's those people that you need a safety net for.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, mate. It is. It
You know?
sure is. Fabio Wardley, would you say he's now in the Macaulay bracket of the Who Needs Him club?
Yeah, well, the destructiveness of obviously the Fraser Clark fight obviously has made people stand up and take notice. I'm not sure why, because he doesn't have the and obviously he's a white collar, isn't he? He came from, so he doesn't have the amateur pedigree, but he comes to fight, and it's indicative that what you have with the fighters is it's not the best trying to test themselves against the best. It's everybody trying to preserve an O or make sure they don't go into 50-50 fights where they can lose. And to me, that it's symptomatic of the bad parts of boxing.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is.
He's a good
Uh,
fighter, though.
yeah, if yeah, he's a good fighter, yeah, but nobody seems to be wanting to go near him, do they, Anthony?
No, and I can't see why they can't put some of the up and comers against him. Like, he beat David Adelaide, which I thought that was going to be a more competitive fight, but that's a good fight. Moses Atama, would they put him near him? I don't know. What do you think?
I think they might do just to put an obstacle in front of him, but if Moses gets wiped out with one punch, that's it. I mean, I don't think they'll put him near anybody who can whack. I mean, Dempsey McKean's a cream puff in my eyes, but they made him out to be second coming of Jerry Cooney, didn't they?
Correct.
You know what I mean? But
Look,
stupid.
yeah, look, I think what we need or what we hope, and again, Porky, I think that the things that you're saying helps, is we need to change the attitude of the fighters, where the fighters need to be testing themselves. I'm not saying straight away, but step by step by step. Right, they got to this level. Okay, what's the next level? What's the next level? Because if you don't do that, we get the Javonta Davis type people who are always fighting people a step below him. And then when it comes to, he might be in a competitive fight, he wants Turkey to send him a couple of Ferraris. I mean, come on. Is that a fighter? Is that a real fighter that we can respect? In my opinion, it's the wrong attitude.
Yeah, it is, mate. Like I said, we just want to see good fights, don't we? But okay, Tunde and Lyndon Arthur are going to have a trilogy. Why? Why does it need a trilogy? That I don't get that.
Uh, I I think it's a case study of how to ruin a very promising fighter's career. I've got no idea why they're going over that old ground again. Nobody's asked for it. Nobody wants to see it. And you've had Anthony Yardy's done two fights of any note, and everybody else he's fought, no one's ever heard of them. And I just find that astonishing. How can you build a guy's not only confidence, but build his skills by doing that, you know? It's just terrible matchmaking, terrible, terrible matchmaking. It's that bad. The Tunde and Barrett have to have a fake beef to sell the fight. It's ridiculous.
Again, like the second fight. You know what I say to that, don't you, Anthony? If the
Go on.
when there's an old saying Nick Manners told me in his gym a few months ago: "When in doubt, reach out." But in boxing, when in doubt, repeat, 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 repeat.
And that's what we don't need, you know, unless it's a real great, great, great fight. You know, you need to mix and match in order to find out who's the best, you know? And unfortunately, certainly in the last 10, 15 years, boxing's all about preserving your own, and, you know, it's that
How
moron
popular,
Mayweather
minute,
who's
about how
responsible for
popular you are.
correct, you know? And in fairness, Matchroom and those guys there have really, really jumped on that and controlled the media so that they can get a narrative out there that suits their pocketbook but ruins the sport.
Yeah. Where's Ben Shalom heading now?
Nowhere. Um, his sky's finished. I think everybody's saying that, isn't it? Has he? He's working with Bricktop and whatever, but they've just done a very good job of literally strangling him like a python does to its meal.
Yeah, what they've done to him, Ben Shalom, is they've absolutely bullied him to death. They've bullied Yard off him. He had Yard on a deal, and now all of a sudden he's just bent over and Bricktop stood behind him and greased him, hasn't
Yeah, I mean, I realized how bad it was. Remember when Shalom and Warren were on stage? They're literally jostling each other out of the way, and you think, come on, these guys are promoters. What's going on?
he? Do you know what I mean?
It's just unbelievable the behavior. Well, it is what it is. But the thing is that where does he? I don't know where he goes from there because I think that he's done at Sky, and you know they've done a good job on him. You know, I think that Matchroom will get that back. What do you would you agree with me with that?
Yeah, I think Matcham will get back on Sky. Me, I think that's what they're hanging about at. I mean, Eddie's really stable's depleted. He's hanging on for dear life for Conor Benn, but I'm hearing stories that Fisher's old man's running around saying, well, if they have to go to Queensbury, they've got to do it best for little Johnny. I mean, there's no loyalty, is there?
There isn't. But also, what you've got to say is that Bricktop is it's like a cockroach, isn't it? You can't kill him, can you? He's absolutely just when you think he's absolutely dead and buried, you know, his arm comes out of the ground and he pulls himself back up. And look at his stable. I mean, look at his heavyweight stable that he's got now. He's built that almost on the sly, and you know, it's as you know, Eddie Hills must have been looking and thinking, "Oh, how's this happened to me?"
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Eddie must be looking now and thinking, God, I put all my eggs in one basket with Big Meech.
And that's what happens. And then, and look at the person that took him out. That has got to be the biggest embarrassment ever. When you know, Fat Man Ruiz. It's almost unbelievable, isn't it?
It's not as embarrassing as them denying Dubois dropping him at the EIS when he was 18, 19-year old because it did happen.
Correct.
David Price did him as well up there, you know. They had to sit him on an exercise bike with smelling salts.
Yeah, well, he's again, as they say, the chin is given by God, isn't it?
Yeah, but
You
Eddie
know,
didn't want to sign David Price because he said he was chinny, but Joshua's been chinny from day one. Dylan White dropped him in amateurs.
correct. And but the thing is as you well know, is that once you have a cash cow and you've put your money in there, what they're able to do is to protect that cash cow and steer him through choppy waters very, very well. Because when you think about it, and again, Porky, you say it, when you look at Anthony Joshua's CV, which real proper punchers has he faced until he fought Dubois?
None.
Right. How have they been able to do that?
Vladimir, what first one he went in with, who could whack and he bowled him over, but he didn't have, he never had no left up. That was his last hurrah, Vladimir. That like that round.
Correct. And then look at the protection that he got. Immediately, Mr. Hill said, "Right, we ain't putting him anywhere."
But they already had Wilder fight verbally agreed. They had him ringside. After that, they went, "Oh, no way!" And Wilder had beat nobody.
Well, here's the funny thing. Looking back at that now with hindsight, I think those guys must be saying, and certainly Hills must be saying, we should have taken the Wilder fight.
Yeah, it's a strange sport, though, isn't it? It's a bit like that thumbnail there. Look at Frank Maloney getting his rocks off on that thumbnail.
I saw that. It's excellent there. It's oh
Got
dear.
that hard at Daily Mirror.
Right. Yes, that's right. Because he changed it. Oh, it's all mad, isn't it?
Oh, we've got murderers. Don King, a two-time murderer. One of them he had squashed by its state governor.
Right.
And we've got him turning into a woman, little Frankie. And we've got Eddie Hills running around with a Maurice wig on his head that's tested against hurricane winds. We've got Big John Fury running around, 100 on Hard Road, all of them knocked out and put on Button Moon. One of them an 100 grand bare knuckler, and then going to local Chinese, having them fill his car up with oil, chip fat oil, and then leave him with a special fried rice, curry sauce, and a bag of spring rolls. You couldn't make it up.
You can't. You really, really can't. You know, that's a
I
famous
sat there on stage, they'd be paying me £100 a ticket. But it's true though, isn't it? It's absolute. We've got Robert Smith at the helm of the ship. Every time I see him, I say, "Here, what's your mark out of 10 for your years as the head honcho?" And he just laughs and jokes. And see, do you see me laughing, Robert? And he bowls away from me. You've got Fat Terry O'Connor, a blind man who can't even see. Do you know what I mean? You've got him refereeing Fury against McDermott. And
Yep. When
no,
McDermott's old man beat him, isn't it?
yeah, knowing full well that John McDermott's dad flogged him in 1977. It's on Boxrec, but yet he gets to referee Fury against McDermott in an English title fight and be the sole judge. Why doesn't Robert Smith be answering to that? I mean, no wonder Frank Maloney had an heart attack at the side at ring. Maybe it was that day he decided, you know what, I'm better off as a woman. You couldn't make it up, could you? Absolutely not make this up. You've got MTK involved with boxing now. They will let drug dealers, and cartels run boxing. And what we'll do now, we'll hand it over to Saudis. And all we've got now in UK is small old promoters feeding on not even scraps. And when you've got shows where men are ranked 800 and 700, headlining, hey? You've got people doing white collar. Misfits is doing better than small old boxing in UK. All it is now is big shows in Saudi and a few shows at Wembley and Manchester Arena and Misfits. That's where we're at. But nobody wants to talk about it, only me.
Yeah, well, Porky, as I said, you actually love the sport.
Of course I do.
And because you love the sport, you want to see it from the grassroots up, get better and better and better, where what happens is the right fights are made in the grassroots. And because the right fights are being made, those with talent will always rise to the top. And gradually, as we come along, we're going to get great fights going all the way through up to world level. And that isn't happening. And the reason that isn't happening is because promoters and other special interests have corrupted the sport with money. And they don't want the casual fans to notice that. They don't.
We've got Shane McGuigan running around saying Adam Azine and Dalton Smith's only going to happen if it's in Riyadh. That's going on behind.
We need that fight right now.
Yeah, we need that in UK now because it's like a good domestic British fight. It's not a Riyadh fight, but they're saying no, it needs building up into a Riyadh fight because they've all had their heads turned by money.
Correct. And not only that, what I like again, I liked I like one of the fights I liked. I know you didn't like was the Peterviev Bivol. Why did I like it? I had no idea who was going to win that fight,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Both cancelled each
And
other out, didn't they?
they did. And the point is that again, the Adam and Dean fight. The reason that we want that to happen is who's really going to win?
Yeah.
You know, who? It's too close to call. And therein lies the magic of boxing, because sometimes they get in there and it's just not what you think it's gonna be.
Yeah. I agree, mate. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But hey ho, hey, I'm going to read some fights out for you for Fury. Opponents for Fury. And tell me if you think he'll take it. Fury,
All
what?
right.
Tell me if you think it'll happen. Fury Wilder 4.
It may happen, we don't want it.
Yeah, we don't want it. Fury Ngannou.
Will he get away with that? I thought Fury lost the first one. I know that
Rematch.
he's a rematch for it.
Yeah.
Do we want to see it? Not really, because Ngannou's been exposed by Joshua, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, correct. Fury Wardley, would he take that?
I don't think he will take that because Fury, look how long it took him to get in the ring with Usyk, who we
Yeah.
called
Kicking
a
and
middleweight.
screaming, he were took to that ring, wasn't he?
Right. He's not going to want any part of a guy that can smash like Wardley.
Yeah. Uh, Fury White 2.
They may do that. We don't want that. That's just
Well,
a
there were talk of
horrible.
it in Manchester over night because White were there and Fury were there as well.
It's a horrible fight. We don't
He's
want that.
saying he's gonna do Joyce. I mean, if is that where we're at? Fury White 2. Jeez. Fury Chisora 4.
Again, we don't want that
Yeah,
because, as you say, repeat, repeat, repeat. We don't need it. We need
yeah.
to move on and get variety.
Fury Parker.
They're mates, aren't they? So
If he loses to Jabbar, though, Parker would take that in a heartbeat, wouldn't he?
Parker would, but
Fury would take it if
oh,
Parker got put on button moon by Jabbar, wouldn't he?
yes, he would take it, but it's not one that interests, in my opinion, it wouldn't interest me to see that.
Okay. Fury Atoma.
Would Fury want that work from a young, ambitious guy? My view is that Fury doesn't like fights where it's competitive. Don't think we see it, and I don't think Fury would want it.
I don't. Fury Dubois.
He wouldn't dare go near Dubois. Dubois got hot sauce on those right hands, and he saw what happened to Joshua. I don't think he'll go anywhere near him.
Did you see Joshua after he took that jab in first 20 seconds? It were all over, wasn't it? Retreat,
Oh,
retreat, retreat, retreat.
and the worst bit of that, have a look at the knockdown at the end of the first round. He was right at the ropes. He got absolutely flattened by that right hand, right? And then when you see the referee counting, when he ends the count, literally Joshua falls onto the referee, and that fight should have been stopped right there.
Yeah, agree, agree.
You know, should have been stopped there, but Joshua's scared of his own shadow. He's had huge amounts of money out of the sport.
Oh, 215 million is that all together.
Give someone else a go. And not only that, he's been chinny and he's been very, very well managed. When you look at the actual talent that he's got and what Eddie Hills has been able to do with him, you could tell Hills is an accountant. No risk and always go for the money. He's done a very good job with Joshua. In
Correct.
fact, I'll say something else. I actually think Chisora has got a better CV than both Joshua and Fury.
There.
Yeah, Chisora has. He's fought everybody. He's not won, but
Yeah.
he's fought everybody, and they've been competitive fights, some of them.
Yeah, but he's been lucky to get them fights because he's got 13 losses and he just keeps turning up knowing this could be his last payday, so he's not really bothered whether he lost, really. I know he tries and that, Chisora, but he's
Yeah,
been
he's a
lucky in
trier.
fights and he's been very lucky.
He has. And the thing is that let's be right. He really needs to stop. In terms of CT, he's already got it.
Yeah, correct. Fury Usyk, Anthony.
We
Trilogy.
don't need to, we don't need to see that again.
Yeah,
Usyk has absolutely put that to bed. The first fight should have been a stoppage,
yeah.
and then he was comprehensively outboxed in the second fight. Why do we need to do it? In my opinion, I'd like to see Usyk say thank you very much to heavyweight boxing. I've been through everybody, and leave now. And the reason I say that is, the only person he can't beat is Father Time.
Yeah. Fury Joshua.
How long have they been talking about that? Come on,
14
this.
years now, since they sparred.
And we got to wait 14 years, and they're still not doing it. Come on, they're having us over. Do I think it happens?
Barry
My
Hearn,
view,
Barry
my
Hearn.
view is that it may happen because again, it's all about the money. But we're having sort of silly buggers as games that are being played at the moment.
Barry Hearn on Talksport just now says another 10 million should turn Fury's head.
Wouldn't be surprised. And named Fury will just hang out for another 15, isn't it?
Do you think they've got balls on them, Fury and Joshua, to drag it out this long and now command such massive fees instead of just saying, you know what, we're going to give it for fans this?
I reckon that when they take a pee in the shower, right, you can see the sparks when their balls are clanging together. Because it's just outrageous. Why are they commanding so much money when they've both been flogged by Usyk twice?
Bricktop's interview today saying that he can see Dubois and Chisora happening, or Derek Chisora getting a title shot. So, but are they forgetting Bacoli and Ajagba is a final eliminated? So does that point into the fact that he's going to get step aside money?
I would agree with that because the problem that they've got with Bacoli is that Bacoli's a Ben Shalom, isn't he? He's a boxer fighter, correct?
Yeah.
They don't want to give him. They've already squeezed him out, isn't it? They don't want to give him a chance at the heavyweight championship, do they? So my view is that they certainly don't want that fight to happen, and they will give him step aside. I'd agree with you on that one.
Okay, we'll finish off on this one with last 2 minutes. The media, should they give New Blood airtime instead of the same 20 to 28 people, boxers that is, on Talksport and being interviewed by the main 4 or 5 channels all the time, day in, day out? There's more than 28 boxers in the UK. Do you agree?
Absolutely, Porky. And again, a lot of the work that you do points to that because there's a lot of good up and coming fighters. And if boxing is going to thrive as a sport, what we need to do is give everybody a fair crack. And that doesn't happen. And the problem that you've got with the media is that they're not reporting the news, they're making it up themselves, isn't it? It's their own narrative. And I absolutely agree with that.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Anthony, to have you on. Welcome to the commission.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, I really, really do want to say I'm not here to gas you up.
I know.
I think you do a very good job. And in my opinion, if you can get maybe one boxer on your show, one ex-boxer or something like that, and have, for example, fans call in and ask questions, I really think that the job that you do keeps asking the questions and keeps the sport honest. Because let's face it, if you and other channels weren't here, could you imagine the dross that the promoters will be serving up to us?
Be unreal. We're out of time, kid. But
Good. Thank you very much, Porky.
Listen, you take care and all the best to you and your family, and we'll speak again.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was Anthony. His debut on Porky's Corner. I thought he was very good, spoke very clearly. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Go on, peace out. Max! Don't even ring me till you're a cruiserweight, Max. You need to get on keto diet. Pop, pop, bang!